Hi, first grade. Mrs. Bentley is back with her minivan moments, and we are going to get to some writing today. Last week, we made a really great plan for our fiction writing. We talked about how fiction stories are sometimes made up, and some of the stuff that happens in them is just from our imagination, and that's okay. That's exactly what a fiction story is all about. Last week, we made a plan, and we used our story planner. We talked about characters and we gave them a name. We picked a setting for our story. We talked about what problem would happen in our story, and then 3 events that would come after or happen in our story as well. There was one piece we didn't get to last week, and that was talking about the solution. You might have seen that little word written on the bottom of the story hand planner. It said solution. A solution is the ending of the story. Listen while I read a quick story, and I want you to pay careful attention to the ending. Sarah and Julie were walking to school. It was Julie's first day of kindergarten. Her big sister Sarah was going to keep her safe on the way to school. Bye, they shouted as they left the house. This is great, Julie said as they walked down the block. The sun was shining, the flowers were out. They turned the corner. That's when they saw it. They saw... Oh, that's the end of my story. What? You don't like that I just left the story that way? Why don't you like that as the ending? Readers don't like to hear an ending that just stops. We don't like that because it's not very satisfying. It doesn't answer any of our questions about what Sarah and Julie just saw. I want to know. Wouldn't it be so mean to just end the story there? I want you to make sure when you're writing today that your story has a really great ending. When we create our story about Sandy together, I'm already thinking of a really great solution, a really great ending that I can put on that story. The problem in our story about Sandy is that she gets lost in the woods. I want to make sure that Sandy finds her way back home. I want my story to have a really happy ending. Your story might have a different kind of ending, and that's okay. The great thing about fiction is we get to use our imagination and we get to come up with whatever we want. So, start thinking about a solution to your story and what you can plan for on your story hand planner. Now that we have a solution planned and ready to go, we are ready to write. We've made a really great plan and we're ready to write. Good fiction stories have satisfying endings, but they also have really great beginnings. Before we write today, let's take a look at 2 fiction books that I brought along to share with you. I'm only going to read the first page of these 2 stories because I want you to pay careful attention to how they begin. This book is called Splish Splash. It was a bright spring day, and Molly was in her backyard. Trucks were digging, and workers were shouting. This book opens up with the words, "It was a bright spring day." As a reader and as a listener, I already want to know what happened on that really bright spring day. It has my interest already. Another book I brought has a different beginning, but it's still just as interesting. Little Red Riding Hood. Listen to the first page of this book. Once upon a time, there was a girl called Little Red Riding Hood. Everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood because that's what she always wore. Look at her little red hood over there. This story starts with the words, "Once upon a time." Fairy tales often start with those kinds of words. I'm sure you've heard that before. I have some other ideas for really great beginnings. This list has some really interesting ways that you might want to think about starting your story with. Once upon a time, one spring day, there once was on a dark stormy night, on a planet far away, deep in the forest, under the deep blue sea. These great beginnings give us some describing words. I see the word dark and stormy, deep and blue, planets that are really far away, and I'm already starting to wonder, what's the rest of the story? You can write a really great beginning too. Think about this list and think about other books that you've read that have really interesting beginnings. I'm going to switch screens and we're ready to get straight to writing. I want you to make sure that you include a really satisfying ending and that we start our writing off strong with a really great beginning. Hi, boys and girls. I have my story planner out here, and I mentioned earlier that we did not write a solution to our Sandy story. So I went ahead and did that. I wrote the really happy ending that I told you about. Sandy comes home. I wanted to make sure that my planner had that written down so I would remember all the parts of my story. I'm going to set it over to the side, and I'm going to grab a new piece of paper that we can begin the rest of our writing on. Remember, first things first and first grade, and I'm going to write my name right on the top. Okay, the first thing we do when we're ready to write is we touch and tell across the page. I know that my story is going to have a really great beginning. I was thinking about using the beginning kind of like the beginning in the Splish Splash book that I mentioned, or on our list when we talked about the kind of day it was outside. That makes me think that I want to know, my readers might want to know more about that particular day. So I want to describe the day really well. I'm thinking something like, one beautiful and sunny day. I've got to tell my readers more about that day. One beautiful and sunny day, my dog, Sandy, was playing in the yard. I want to make sure I introduce my character in the beginning too. Let me touch and tell one more time before I write. One beautiful and sunny day, my dog, Sandy, was playing in the yard. I'm going to start writing those words. Today, we're just focusing on a really great beginning. One, I started my sentence with a capital, and I'm making sure I put a space in. Beautiful. And that's a nice snap word that I know how to write. Sunny. There's a lot of really nice describing words in there. One beautiful and sunny day, my dog, Sandy, I want my readers to know her name, was playing oh, I know that sound. Playing in the yard. What comes at the end of my sentence? A nice period. One beautiful and sunny day, my dog Sandy was playing in the yard. Give me a thumbs up if you think this is a really strong beginning. It sure is. We have some nice describing words, beautiful and sunny, to tell us all about the kind of day when this story took place. One beautiful and sunny day. Hopefully now your readers want to know more. My dog Sandy was playing in the yard. That's all the writing you need to do for today. Start your writing off with a really great beginning. Touch and tell across the page so you can plan your writing out well. And once you've written your great beginning, go ahead and give me a picture to show me what's happening. I'm going to work on that now, and I'll see you at our next writing lesson. Have a great day, first grade.